Please join me in welcoming Dr. Shivaranjani Santosh.
Dr. Shivaranjani Santosh.
Sivarajani Santosh.
8-year battle that a Hyderabad-based pediatrician
actively campaigning against misleading ORS products.
She's deeply committed to educating parents.
The FSSAI has ordered states and union territories to remove all non-compliant ORS products.
This has ended a long-standing loophole in food labeling laws and marks.
It's a great welcome move, but my only worry is because this is a matter of lives of children and I'm not going to step back.
There is something called as Samrani, which is a very powerful thing, which is used even when people are ill.
So with all due respect to him, no, we don't recommend it. Strongly against it.
Are there any credible sources as parents we can go online and look for it?
Apparently, there are only 18,000 qualified dermatologists in our country, but there are more than 1.5 lakh dermatologists on Instagram. Often cold syrups.
There is a vaccine, and if given at the right time, you can prevent your child from getting cervical cancer for the rest of her life.
Now I'm going to get trolled for this by some anti-vaccine groups.
Is there something that the parents can ask the school to do which can make it a little healthy for our children?
They are making rules that the child can't get food from home. That's like you're forcing unhealthy food on the child. How fair is it? There are many schools who say, no, your child falls in the autism spectrum. We can't give admission to your child. No, that's not done.
Scientific temperament in children has to be inculcated from young age.
I'm not for reciting anything which can be connected to one particular religion. That's why I'm not comfortable with having one temple in the school or mosque or church in the school.
Ayurveda, yoga, Unani, Siddha and homeopathy medicine.
I've studied modern medicine. I believe in modern medicine. You're giving something white in color without a label. Don't know what you're giving your child. That's not fair. Coming to Ayurveda. You say medical mafia, you say pharma mafia. There is something called MRP and you sell it at MRP, but you get it at a lower rate. So how can you call it as a commission? The problem is much more deep-rooted than what you said. Their pancake mix has more jaggery than the amount of sugar in one of the regular brands. Then why are you even giving permission for this? Why are they being available in the pharmacies?
Hello, doctor.
Hi.
So today when I got to know that you were coming, I personally went to most of the stores and I asked for ORSL. But they all gave me WHO recommended ORS along with the Tetra Pak. I think this is the biggest win. How could you even do this single-handedly?
I was alone. You were right. Most of the time, there were a few pediatricians who here and there tried and gave up. It was a long battle. There also, you were right. But I filed my public interest litigation in the Telangana High Court. It's still open. But the FSSAI order came before the court case was closed. Okay, it's still open. And I kept writing to them. I sent proofs, letters from parents, from pediatricians, case reports, and we have even collected video evidence of parents going and asking for ORS and being given ORSL or rebalance with ORS. So all this I sent both to the health ministry as well as the PM's office. And I put a lot of pressure through social media. So I don't know whether the PIL worked or the social media pressure or the evidence that I had sent. The order had come before the court case was closed. But the thing is, I'm so glad you didn't find ORSL today in Hyderabad. But let me tell you, in many towns and in many villages in India, still they are getting rid of their 180 crore stock. They haven't recalled their stock in many places. And they have even come up with a new branding, ERZL, which is very, very similar. The E is like O and the Z is phonetically similar to S and is just a mirror image. and it looks very similar. We are not talking about the urban people. We are talking about people living in tier 2 towns and villages, those who are not on social media, those who don't read news, those who never knew or know about this ORSL fiasco. So they will definitely think that this is the new ORSL, and they will still continue giving it to their children thinking it is the real ORS. So this should not be allowed. This should not be allowed. Any deceptive label and deception should not be allowed. And that too when it comes to public health and the health of children, no, deception cannot be allowed. So ERZL is also not okay with me.
So, are you going to take another step towards that?
Of course, I have already raised that issue on social media, and whatever needs to be done, I'm not going to let it go like that, because this is a matter of lives of children and I'm not going to step back.
But this time, I'm sure, Doctor, we are all right with you, and we
Yes.
all will do anything that we can do as parents, educated parents especially, who are able to follow you and follow your Instagram page or follow all the videos that you're sending us. Please tell us if we can do something to help you in this next cause of yours.
Surely. Earlier I was alone. This time I know so many of you are with me. And yeah, I think we'll all write to the Trademarks Authority that this is not done, because that they are going to give has to be delinked from the original ORSL. Otherwise, it will still remain a public health hazard, and that's not acceptable.
Most of us, actually, parents, know that Samrani has PM 2.5 in it, which is actually very harmful for children, if I'm not mistaken. I want to show you a video, if you don't mind. When we all know this, what do you say about this?
There is something called as Samrani, which is a very powerful thing, which is used even when people are ill. And it is now being found it also kills certain types of bacteria in the air.
I don't know who is this speaking.
Sadhguru.
There is a sick person.
Okay. So with all due respect to him, no, we don't recommend it, because this particulate matter, when you inhale, it's going to get deposited in the lungs, and it's not a great idea at all, especially for babies and children.
Yes, because most of the places, newborns, they have given birth and the hair is dried with Samrani down. And I have read somewhere that one bath with Samrani for a newborn is equal to the baby having 4 cigarettes a day. And it's that harmful.
Yeah, it is definitely harmful, but about this, like equal to 4
Yeah.
cigarettes, I am not aware. In the olden days, basically, see, you want to dry your baby's hair. So maybe that's why they wanted to provide warmth.
Okay.
Okay, so maybe that was the way they were doing it. But nowadays in our houses, they're warm enough.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't have to do any such things. So everything is about risk versus benefit. Maybe those days the benefit was more than the risk. But at this stage where we are right now, the risk is more than the benefit. So strongly against it.
Yes, because when my daughter was small, she had bronchitis attack. Actually, her grandparents used to use lots of Samrani and Agarbatti because the puja and things like that. But the doctor specifically told, after observing her for a year, every time she would go visit, that would happen. So then doctor said she is allergic or the smoke is not suiting. And when I stopped it, I could actually see the difference. But how many parents actually are aware of this? Because even just a regular stick, Dupam stick, is what my pediatrician told is not safe. She was very small, 2 or 3 years old. Is not very safe for children. Even if it is kept in the puja room, it is not safe. Is it true?
Yes. So even now, like you must be seeing that the allergies are on the rise, right? Adenoid size on the rise, increase in the size of adenoids, all this mouth breathing, snoring, allergies, respiratory allergies are on the rise. So what we advise parents, and let me tell you, so many kids went off these anti-allergy medication, or they were getting lesser number of asthma attacks, less severe attacks, after they follow these few instructions that I gave them. One is kill dust mite. Dust mite. Dust mite is different from dust.
Okay.
Dust mite is a living organism which thrives in our beds. basically where human beings spend a lot of time. So wash your bed sheets at 60 degrees centigrade or more.
In hot water.
Yes, 60 or
Or
more.
more.
Pillow covers, everything. Okay, second a common thing is, especially in Hyderabad, lot of dust. So you vacuum every week or 10 days, the curtains, the beds, the carpets. Actually minimize carpet space. We don't need carpets except for beautification. Yeah, for the aesthetic value, right? And these soft toys, they gather lot of dust. And these fancy cushions, they gather lot of dust. Declutter your houses. Keep them simple, clean, and dry. So the wall should not have any molds. Okay, that's one more thing. And your air conditioners, if you're using them, please service them every month to month and a half, because the fungus from the air conditioner also can cause problems. And make sure they're not directed at your child. Okay, the draft
Yes.
is not
Should
directed.
not come directly to
Come directly, because then mucus will build up. Okay, not because of allergy, because of the cool nature of it. So, and the last part, household cleaning liquids, citronella, camphor, eucalyptus oil, Vicks, Zinda Talisman, your sambrani, your agarbatti, scents, all these perfumes, scented candles, powders to strict no, all these things you avoid. Just be simple. That's all. Don't overdo anything.
Yeah.
Simple. Keep the house clean by minimize the use of all this Colin spray, Mr. Muzzle spray, all these things. Just keep them at really necessary only you use them. So all these things you decrease, not only for decreasing the allergies, even these things are contributing to precocious puberty also. So many chemicals in our daily routine. So that's why. So these are the things we tell parents, and you see dramatic change in the allergies. So this has been my experience, and many of them have dust mite allergy nowadays. So let them wash the bed sheets and pillow covers at 60 degrees centigrade. Yeah.
So, of late, we as parents hear milk, eggs, chicken, junk food, mobile phone when you keep it here. All these are the causes of early puberty. According to you, doctor, what actually is early? Which age is early?
Not according to me, according to endocrine society across the world, or the pediatric societies across the world, the definition of precocious puberty in girls is onset of pubertal features like enlargement of breasts or appearance of pubic hair before the age of 8 years.
Before 8.
Yes, is defined as precocious puberty. So it's not me, it's universal.
It's universal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, first question is, what if I see my child developing a little earlier than needed? Is there something that I can do? And second thing is there something that I can do to delay these naturally?
You mean to ask me how you can delay it once it has started, or to delay it before it has started?
Before it started.
Okay. So the present hypothesis, which is having stronger evidence, is that there are some things called endocrine disruptors. Endocrine means anything related to hormone. Okay, so disruptors, they disrupt the hormonal balance in the body. So the things that are being implicated a lot are this BPA, all this Teflon coating and all these things, pesticides. So, and even in certain chemicals from the construction materials. So all these are being implicated. As of now, there's not really strong evidence for the hormones being given to the cattle causing precocious puberty.
So
the
it
evidence
is
is not as strong as it is for pesticides. Okay. And people have stopped giving milk and eggs to their children, especially girls, thinking that they are responsible for precocious puberty. But what they have to understand is that the scientific evidence is more strongly in favor of the pesticides being responsible rather than the hormones being given to the cattle. And when it comes to poultry, there's hardly anything to do with precocious puberty, again, except the pesticides that get into the poultry through the food that's given to the poultry. So that way, though, we are eating food, I mean, rice, everything, everything, right?
Yeah.
So don't deprive your children of milk and poultry just because you're worried about precocious puberty. But all said and done, milk is not a must if you are able to provide equivalent nutrition through other foods. So if your child doesn't like milk, don't force, but provide nutrition, the equivalent nutrition through other sources. And if you are giving milk and poultry, you don't have to stop it. Basically, moderation is the key. And if you're not rich enough to buy organic, it's okay. As long as you thoroughly wash your foods, most of the pesticide residue goes away. So, basically, moderation is the key. Don't overdo anything. Don't deprive your child of anything. Don't go overboard. Don't deprive also. Plan well and give a balanced diet. And definitely stop listening to too many influencers on social media. Stick to a few ethical, qualified pediatricians or qualified dietitians and nutritionists. Qualified. So any random person cannot guide you.
Yes.
So
As you were talking on Insta or online, there are lots of these supplements to put in milk for developing the height of the child. And especially the moment the girl gets a little closer to puberty, the parents are really scared that she will not grow beyond this. So let's just add these extra growth powders that are being given.
yeah, we'll
Does
come to that because I didn't finish your previous question. So what does a parent need to do?
Mm.
Okay.
Yes.
So give a healthy diet, balanced diet. As much as possible, we'll stay away from, as I said, don't use too much of household cleaning liquids. Don't use too much plastic.
Yeah.
And try to keep the food as clean as possible and minimize the junk food without making your child feel restricted or but do not let your child develop a negative association with food also. Please handle this issue very carefully. So first thing, this. Now my child has developed precocious puberty. What can it be due to? It may just be an early puberty, the natural thing coming a little early, or there may be a problem with certain glands in the body. It can be the problem with the pituitary gland. It can be the problem with something called adrenal gland or the ovary. So it's very important that you consult a qualified endocrinologist and they would see, like they will do the workup and see whether your child is actually getting her normal puberty a little early or there is some problem that needs to be addressed. So they will investigate and address the problem if there is a problem, as I said. And if there is no problem, but the puberty has come early, but still, like, we don't want our child to get her periods at 9 years or 9.5 years. She's not still ready. And the other thing is, this is in the gray area. After you get your menarche, your first periods, generally the growth slows down a little bit. But here, some are saying that invariably the child will reach her height potential, whereas some are saying that no, maybe she may not. So it's better you discuss on a one-on-one basis with the endocrinologist and discuss with them if you want to postpone your child's
This
first
is
periods.
Before she gets her first period.
Yes.
Not after she's got her first
After
period.
she gets also they will check her bone age. Bone age means they'll see if her bones have grown fully and basically at joints we see like if the growth is complete or not. If the growth is complete, there is nothing they can do. If it is not, like they may still stop it and stretch it a little bit. So this has to be discussed on a one-on-one basis with a qualified and experienced endocrinologist.
Okay. Most of the parents do not know that there is a vaccine, and if given at the right time, you can prevent your child from getting cervical cancer for the rest of her life. Can you just tell us about this?
This is called HPV vaccine, human papilloma virus. Certain strains of human papilloma virus cause warts and certain strains mutate the cells. Mutate means change the cells of the cervix or the anus or the penis or the mouth cavity in such a way that they get predisposed to cancer. So, by giving HPV vaccine, you are stopping the virus from infecting the cells in these areas. So, HPV vaccine alone is not sufficient. Women should still continue their pap smear every 3 years as per guidelines. So, everything put together will do wonders to prevent cervical cancer. So, this vaccine is now being recommended for boys also, as I
Yes,
said,
I was
because it
about to
prevents
ask.
cancer of the penis, anus, and oral cavity, the mouth cavity. So, that's how it works. And if you give, I mean, the minimum age is 9 years, and if you give before the 15th birthday, then the doses are only 2, 6 months apart. If you give on 15th birthday or later, you'll need 3 doses. So
It
that's how
can be
it.
given on 15th birthday or later. It's not like it's
It's
late.
up to
I can't give.
45 or 46 years. But the thing is, the earlier the better, because then the immunogenicity will be better.
Okay.
And the thing is, the funda is like, if the sexual exposure is already there, the chance of the girl or boy acquiring the virus is higher. So you have already acquired the virus, so you're not going to prevent that strain of virus at least, right? So that's why like it's recommended you give it earlier.
Okay. So few children don't even get periods till 14. Is it okay to still go ahead and give this vaccine?
It has
before
no
they got-
connection with periods. It's only age based. Some parents even ask, today my daughter has menstruation, today can I give? That's okay. It has no correlation. But if your daughter is having periods, she may be having stomach pain and all. Like, why give another vaccine? And that also is painful. So that way, if you want, don't give.
Apart from
But
that, there is-
apart from that, there is no contraindication. It's only age dependent, nothing to do with whether your child has got her first periods or not, or whether your child is menstruating now or not.
So online, on Insta, especially doctor, they have wonderful doctors like you, Dr. Liver. There are lots of amazing doctors who are actually spreading awareness to all parents. At the same time, they are another set of doctors. We don't even know whether they are doctors, but they have doctor title. For example, there was a doctor, Manoj Das. He claimed himself to be a doctor. And until I personally,
Shark
till
Tank
I
thing.
saw your reel, he openly went to Shark Tank and he claimed he's a doctor and he's made crores of money from his business. They had to tell you cannot have doctor in front of your name because you're not a doctor. And in exactly 2 days or 4 days, if I'm not mistaken, he removed the title doctor from his Instagram account. Now it is no more Dr. Manoj Das. It's just
But there are
Manoj
so
Das.
many Manoj
But-
Das's like that.
Yes, we always tell that informed parents make the right decisions for the children. I've heard you say this.
Yes.
So, how do you think we parents can get the right information from the social media?
First of all, when you select your influencers, stick to 2 or 3.
Okay.
Okay. Check their qualifications. And when you see their reels, you'll know whether they're authentic or not. Because even though they have qualification, there are some people who are very unethical. I showed you, no, they are saved as peddler gang in my phone.
Yes.
Okay. Right? So such kind of people, stay away from them because they are not genuine. They will market a skin cream if the company is paying them money. They're not going to guide you right. So stay away from such people. You will know if you see 3-4 reels, you'll know who is genuine and who is not genuine, who is there only to promote himself or herself and who is doing endorsements and earning money. So think twice before following them. Okay, so stick to genuine people and qualified people. I'll give you an example, dermatologists. Apparently, there are only 18,000 qualified dermatologists in our country, but there are more than 1.5 lakh dermatologists on Instagram.
Oh my God, that's shocking.
Yeah, what happens, especially the gullible people, what they do, they want to be fair, they don't want to have pimples, and they follow these advices and land up in serious problems. most of these creams suggested by these so-called influencers, they have steroids. So once they stop using steroids, suddenly, everything flares up, and it affects the psyche of the person also a lot. So there is no control. We have laws, but they are not being implemented at all. At all means at all. So yeah, just stay away from social media, except for like, one or two, and yeah, just stay with that.
Stick with
Stick with that. But when you're choosing, see, you will know after seeing 4-5 reels, you know who is genuine, who is giving you the right guidance.
So, doctor, are there any credible sources as parents we can go online and look for that?
So you can check Indian Academy of Pediatrics, American Academy of Pediatrics. They have something called healthychildren.org. O-R-G.
Okay.
Okay, that's a good one. And lot of this Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, NHS from UK.
Right.
So we get good information. So instead of going to, like health bodies or, pediatric bodies, so that way it will be better than going for some random thing.
Influencers.
Yeah.
Right. So, ma'am, there is Liver Doctor who actually is similar to your kind of philosophy, or he advocates same things, criticizing the Ayush. For the parents who do not know what Ayush is, it is Ayurveda, yoga, Unani, Siddha, and homeopathy medicine. So, ma'am, what I personally have seen is few parents who follow this literally leave allopathy medication completely. So, as a pediatric doctor, especially when it comes to our children, don't you think we are putting them at risk by doing this?
See, I've studied modern medicine. I believe in modern medicine. And everything that comes is after a lot of research, going through so many trials, and then only we are allowed to prescribe, right? And everything has a name. And suppose I want to look up about levocetirizine, for example. I'll have 1,000 articles. I'll know about every side effect. What are the indications? What are the contraindications, right? I haven't studied Ayurveda, I haven't studied Unani or homeopathy. So I don't think I'm qualified to comment on them. But one thing I can tell you, if the label doesn't tell you what you're giving to your child, how can you give to your child without knowing? See, on one side, you are questioning modern medicine, saying, talking about side effects, this, that, because you have literature available. It is there for you. And here you're giving something white in color without a label. You don't know what you're giving your child. That's not fair. So at least you should know what you're giving your child, what effect it is going to have on your child, what are the side effects, then you should take a call. That's when what my take is on homeopathy. There are some parents who swear by it, but enough research is not there. But Ayush Ministry is supposed to be doing encouraging research. But whatever, to the parent, I want to tell one thing. If you're giving something to your child, you should know what you're giving to your child. And coming to Ayurveda, there are not enough studies about many herbs. And I know for sure that prolonged use of ashwagandha, there are enough number of case reports to suggest that it can cause liver damage. And when it comes to children, there are not even enough studies. But here, I don't know, you follow my social media channel. Grizzo was having ashwagandha for a long time in its milk mix. How is that? Maybe finally it will turn out to be safe or whatever at the level they are using. But without research, without enough data, when we know that prolonged use of ashwagandha has caused liver injury in adults, how you could add that in milk powder, right? But now they have removed it. Now it's not there, latest. Like that, there are many herbs. So the principles of Ayurveda, if you see from the beginning, everything mostly is based on gut health. And now we are talking about good gut health, right? So there are certain principles which were good, but relying on them for medication, especially when you don't know about the side effects and the contraindications, may not be a great idea according to me.
Yes, because you were talking about autism vaccination also, and some mother was telling that they are taking Ayurvedic medication for instead of going for the vaccine,
Homeopathy.
homeopathy. They're taking homeopathy medication for autism.
Yeah.
So it is completely different.
There is no medication, first of all. And some research is there going on about, I mean, like recently would have heard about this folate receptors and all that, right? But my worry is this is like early detection and early intervention is very crucial. At that point, when somebody is misguiding the parent and saying, you take my homeopathy tablets or goalies and your child will become better, and you're charging 1 lakh rupees every 6 months, instead of guiding them towards therapy and saying you don't take MMR vaccine, you don't take this vaccine, that vaccine, and putting the children at risk for certain life-threatening diseases, I would say that person is very devious and deceptive. Okay, let's take this. Now I'm going to get trolled for this by some anti-vaccine groups. But let us take this Mr. Kennedy Jr. He was so much against MMR vaccine.
Yes.
They all said that MMR vaccine causes autism. But even in the recent guidelines, they've included MMR vaccine in the
Oh,
recommendation. They've removed a few other vaccines,
Okay.
but this is still there.
Okay.
They know that. They know. Already in US, measles cases have gone up. Some children died, right?
Yes.
So that's
We
why
were able to almost eradicate in India.
in India, we still have measles. Polio, we could. So I don't know, like at least as of now, the scientific proof is not in favor of vaccines being responsible for autism. Okay, they say that pediatricians give it for money. So why will I give it to my own child then? Just think.
Okay, ma'am, another thing, the other day you had a talk, and then in the talk you were telling us about an ingredient that is there in Chyawanprash and Slurp Farm.
Just read out the ingredients first once. Read them out.
They are so small. It's actually difficult for me to read.
Yes. Try.
I'm not able to read. They're very small. There's so many.
Yeah. So mainly they'll say they use amla,
Right.
and there'll be a lot of jaggery in that.
Yes.
Jaggery is there?
Jaggery is there.
Yeah. So basically you are giving some just sugar to your
Okay.
child with some herbs will be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we really don't know in which way they are going to help.
Okay.
And as you said, like there is not enough research about the side
There is
effects
no
or
research
no
about
research.
this at all.
And how will that vitamin C help? They will heat it and cook it, right? Vitamin C
It's
would
all
have
gone.
gone long back. Okay. So basically you're giving something full of sugar to your child. That's it. Nothing more than that according to me.
So this is not going to help.
No
children.
immuno booster.
No
and,
immuno booster.
fresh air, good sleep, healthy food, good activity, happy family, good hydration. Those are your immuno boosters.
That's it.
Yeah.
So even in this, ma'am, you were talking about, see,
No.
it's clearly written over here, date powder.
Yeah, dates.
So according to Indian,
FSSAI, date powder or date sugar is not considered as sugar.
so they can't write it like this.
Yes.
So as
So it's
parents,
legal.
it's legal.
Legal.
As parents, we need to see it.
Yeah. So basically, the recommendation is that we do not sweeten food. We don't add sugars to food to sweeten it till at least second birthday. Sugar means sugar, jaggery, honey, dates powder, coconut sugar, palm sugar, whatever sugar you say.
Okay.
Okay. Not because those 2 to 3 extra or 5 extra calories are going to cause obesity in your baby, because we do not want the babies to develop food preference for sweet foods. Okay. So now this will be advertised as no sugar, sugar free.
Yes.
So basically you're giving a sweet cereal to your baby, sweet food. on a regular basis.
Yes, because it's cereal. We give
And
it
this
to
log
children.
farm is one of the first ones which started all this, no sugar, while they were adding jaggery. If you see one of these, their pancake mix, their pancake mix has more jaggery than the amount of sugar in one of the regular brands. I forgot. Okay. So, but somehow parents now believe that jaggery is not sugar, and that's how the whole business model was based on that. But jaggery is sucrose and sugar is also sucrose. It's just that jaggery has little bit of more minerals, but to get the benefit from jaggery, real benefit, like if you want to, then you have to eat this much jaggery. Sugar, maybe you can choose to give 1 teaspoon jaggery. But thinking that, eating loads of jaggery and thinking that you're not eating sugar, you are a big fool. That's all.
This one also, ma'am, you were talking about Dexo growth too. This also has, say, specifically zero added sucrose.
They're being a little more clever. Okay, so now this has maltodextrins. Okay, and the glycemic index of maltodextrins is more than that of glucose also. Glucose is 100%. Sugar, jaggery and all are around 80%. Honey and all is around 60 or 50%. Date sugar is around 40-50%. And this is around 110.
Okay.
That means what is glycemic index? Like how fast blood glucose rises in your body after taking this. But according to FSSAI, this is not sugar and this is not sucrose. So they advertise it as no sugar food or whatever.
No added sucrose.
It is follow-up milk formula.
Yes,
right?
milk formula.
Yeah. That's why parents don't get deceived. Don't get deceived. Now you'll ask me, then what about babies? Baby formula, some of them have maltodextrin. Some of them.
Yeah.
Most of them nowadays don't have sucrose. So definitely they don't
Baby
have
formula does not.
and does not have. But some of them have maltodextrins, especially the low lactose formula. For some babies, lactose in the formula doesn't suit them. They are forced to give low lactose formula. In some of them, they add maltodextrins to make up for the energy needs. So as I said, everything is about risk versus benefit. So there, the baby needs those extra calories. So maybe the companies will come up with better, formula. But you can't compare that with this.
Okay.
This is at a stage where a child can drink normal plain milk.
Yes.
Yeah. And can eat regular food. And you are telling them to give this milk. So,
Ma'am, as a mom, I want to ask, does a child know the taste of a normal milk compared to the added milk? Because of course sugar is added, but what if the child is not introduced sugar at all? Only milk from when the child is small.
that is the recommendation. Do not introduce flavored milk. Do not add milk mixer, sugar, jaggery, all these things in the milk just to make your child drink milk at least till 6th birthday, because then the preference for plain milk will stay forever. So the child won't keep longing for milkshakes, sweet things later on. That is the whole idea. Once you introduce and then say, no, I won't give, that becomes tough, challenging. If you do not introduce, it's not like you're depriving your child of something great. In fact, you're doing great justice to your child by, ensuring child doesn't develop a preference for very sweet foods. We are not asking you to deprive your child of an occasional indulgence, occasional dessert, or occasional sweet. Okay, we want the child to have a positive association with food. You go out as a family once a month or sometime having some ice cream. Nobody is saying no to that. Don't reach it to a stage where your child is always wanting to eat biscuits, chocolates, wanting to drink flavored milk. So to avoid that, these are the guidelines that have been given. Do not introduce added sugar. As I said, added sugars means sugar, jaggery, honey, date sugar, all these things
Everything falls under sugar.
till 2nd birthday. And later on also keep it to a maximum of 5 to 6 teaspoons per day, but preferably lesser. Okay. And do not introduce flavored milk till 6th birthday at least, or even later. That is the whole idea.
Ma'am, now most of the schools provide breakfast and they give milk. So in the menu itself, there's plain milk available, there's chocolate milk available. But is there something that we parents can ask the school to do, something different which can make it a little healthy for our children?
So my experience is what parents tell me is whenever these parents who want the school to give healthy foods put pressure on the school, immediately there is another group of parents who want the school to give all these cupcakes and these milkshakes and all at school. So the school is forced to give that. They're worried that otherwise their child won't eat. So like your child won't eat, so you're giving this food. So it will be forever then. So that's why we are saying, so start
At an early age.
at an
so
early
that-
age so that these habits and these food preferences stay lifelong for them.
So, ma'am, as school, they can do if they want to do.
Yes, they should do.
Not
They
that
should
they
do.
can, they
Yeah,
should do.
that's what I'm saying. Child spends most of
most
the
of the
time
time
at the
in the
school, and nowadays
school.
they're eating food at school.
Food at school.
And they're making rules that the child can't get food from
Yes.
home. That's like you're forcing unhealthy food on the child, isn't it? How fair is it?
Right. Most of the schools do not give that option of you getting food from home.
Yeah, at least these international
International
schools.
schools.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not most of the schools, these international schools.
Oh, international schools. Ma'am, you were telling us that jaggery is also sugar. Most of us adults, we have actually shifted from white sugar, refined sugar to brown sugar, jaggery in our teas and coffees, thinking it's healthy. So, is there anything else that we can change?
Tell me one thing. 1 teaspoon of jaggery or sugar is going to really badly affect your health? No. Okay, what is going to badly affect your health? You keep on gorging on foods and without eating simple foods, without having balanced diet. Instead of finding alternatives for your sugar, slowly move towards eating fruits and wholesome foods.
Right.
1 teaspoon of sugar or jaggery is not going to wreak havoc in your life. Okay, fine. You want to really skip that. As an adult, you want to do, say, stevia or monk fruit. At least go for the pure forms. Only the pure forms are stevia glycosides are recognized as safe, not the crude extracts. Enough studies are not there. Even monk fruit sweetener, if it's mixed with erythritol and all, it's not being recommended. It can cause digestive issues, and some studies have shown it to be associated with stroke and heart attack. So my question is, like, enjoy what you are having, have a positive association with the foods you want to have. Just don't overdo. Just moderation is the rule. You are anyway not fighting obesity, right? You are not diabetic. A person with diabetes wants to eat sweet. If I can't have sugar, okay, I'll have stevia, the pure form. Fine, fair enough. You don't have any such problems, right? So once in a while or 1 teaspoon, it shouldn't matter. But when it comes to children, when parents ask me, can I use monk fruit sweetener? Can I use stevia? I don't understand. And the whole thing is you don't get them used to sweet tooth, right? And even for adults, research has shown that people who go for stevia and monk fruit sweeteners, in fact, those people who are fighting obesity and taking the help of these things, they are losing their battles. You know why? Stevia is 200 times sweeter than the regular sugar. Monk fruit sweetener is also 100 times. So in fact, slowly they are getting addicted to sweet foods. So the recommendation is, instead of going for this, slowly move towards wholesome food and fruits. Okay, so now when you are asking me whether I can give stevia or monk fruit to children who are just like 2 years, 3 years, I mean, this is craziness. This is craziness. We don't want them to develop a preference for sweet food.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah,
all
and these
food.
are much sweeter. No?
100 times sweeter.
Yeah,
you said.
so you are just cutting down 5 to 10 calories, but you're eating something so sweet and you're...
Cravings filling.
Yes, that's what research is saying now.
So, ma'am, as our children have their meals in school and they stay most of their time in the school, do you suggest any important measures that school can make to raise healthy children?
See, one is nutrition. If you divide the food plate into 4 parts, with the top parts being slightly bigger than the lower parts, this will be carb-rich foods, whole grains. This will be vegetables. This will be fruits, and these are protein-rich foods. And dairy should be limited to not more than 500 ml per day. Very simple guidelines are, you stick to them, you plan the menu. Coming to physical health, obviously we want children to be more active, have more outdoor time, and emotional and mental health. The schools have to remember that no two children are same, and these are the things that our child needs to know. I'm eating rice, but I don't know that rice is grown in the fields. Like for me, if it is rice is only supermarket, then what am I learning? I mean, I'm eating brinjal curry. I don't know how the original brinjal looks like. I don't know that it grows on plants. And that's one thing. And one more thing, inclusivity. Children have to be taught that there may be a child with special abilities.
Yes.
There may be a child who falls in the autism spectrum.
Right.
So that children have to be taught to accept them as they are and be friends with them, with everyone. So this kind of thing has to be taught. There are many schools who say, no, your child falls in the autism spectrum. We can't give admission to your
Right.
child. No, that's not done. So that's one more thing. And coming to safety, and definitely schools have to be safe. In Hyderabad only, like 2 incidents were there. No, one child died because of choking on chapati. And in India, many children die because of drowning related accidents in the swimming pools in the school also. So they have to be thorough with life-saving measures.
There is no negotiation there.
There, absolutely. Absolutely. So first of all, we'll have to teach them that simple meal cooked at home is the best. And sometimes when you have to buy foods, you have to read the label. So we have to teach them how to read the label, what sugar means, what added sugar means.
Because as you said, they are named differently.
Named differently, deceptively.
Yeah.
So if suppose FSSAI says these are the 20 synonyms, then the 21st synonym will be there.
Right.
Yeah. So they have to understand. So reading the labels has to be taught right from that age. And developing scientific temper. Like, don't accept things as they are. Okay, my teacher told me, so like I accept it. No, make them question you.
Yes.
Why is it like this? Why is it like that? Okay, so that thing should come. Observing things, questioning. That is how they have to learn. And right.
You may actually mention long time. I think you mentioned that there's a prayer before science class, which is completely different from education. Education is nothing but knowledge wherein you have to ask questions,
Yes.
not just accept what is given to
Yes.
you.
You have to question.
You have to question, and that's how you gain knowledge. And education is gaining knowledge. Scientific temperament in children has to be inculcated from, and I think schools is something that have to do it.
See, one thing is schools are places where children from different religions and
Correct.
different communities are there.
Yes.
So I'm not for reciting anything which can be connected to one particular religion. But if it is a prayer which is going to make the child calm at the beginning of the day, and it has a meaning, and that meaning is explained to the child properly. So something like, okay, today anything which has a good meaning, which is not associated with any religion, and you explain to the child what that means, why you are praying, that should be fine with me. Like, that's why I'm not comfortable with having one temple in the school, or mosque or church in the school, because children from different communities are there. And I think let's keep the schools really neutral and away from this.
Absolutely. The other day, you actually made a reel on Azee, which is a antibiotic for children. You saw that a set of children actually became immune to that medication, and they had to prescribe a higher dosage. So most of the parents, what happens is when a child gets fever or a cold or cough, we go to the doctor. Doctor gives us the medication. Second time, when the child gets it, without even consulting the
You repeat
doctor,
the
the parents repeat the prescription. So, is it right to do that, or every time we have to consult a doctor?
You answer that.
I personally, you ask me, I consult a doctor every time.
It's definitely not right. The problem is much more deep rooted than what you said. One is fault is on, from my community also. Indiscriminate prescriptions for antibiotics have happened and are happening. And pharmacist, anything you go for, pharmacist will give. Right. So the problem is government allowing them to be given over the counter, not being strict. You see Kerala model now, unless there is a prescription, you cannot give antibiotic. If Kerala can do, why can't the rest of India do? So the problem is with doctors, with pharmacists, with the government not implementing what it should be implementing. And there are some people called RMPs. Actually, RMP stands for Registered Medical Practitioners. That is me.
Oh,
But unfortunately, this 10th pass, 11th pass, 12th pass, or somebody who has worked as a compounder with some doctor for a few days, they are the real doctors for all the villages and in so many towns and even in our urban slums.
Yeah.
Okay. So they use antibiotics indiscriminately, at least like injections, the high-end antibiotics, like even meropenem, all these high-end antibiotics, steroid injections. So that system has lot of political support. This has to go away. But then what do these poor people do? Who do they go to is the question. Why are they going to these people? Because they can't pay my fee. And they feel in government hospitals there are big queues, but now actually the waiting time has decreased in government hospitals. They can go to the primary health centers, they can go to the sub centers, but I don't know why they're still preferring these. So we have to find out, they have to collect data, talk to these people and find out why they're preferring these quacks. So all this is contributing to antibiotic resistance, and I was a victim. I had some respiratory infection. It's not like I abuse antibiotic, then only antimicrobial resistance develops only for the germs that are going to affect me. I misuse antibiotics. These germs which developed resistance to antibiotics can come and affect you, and the antibiotic may not work for you tomorrow. Just yourself that you're harming the entire community. There are going to be many deaths globally because of antimicrobial resistance. Don't abuse antibiotics. Take it only when prescribed, complete the course.
is it true that doctors get a commission when they write antibiotic?
I don't know. I don't get any commission. So
No, I mean, that's what.
see. Again, there is a lot of mistrust about doctors and mistrust about pharma. Like you say medical mafia, you say pharma mafia. You're seeing me. Do you feel that I'll be the type of person who will prescribe an antibiotic to a child just to get the commission?
No.
No, right? There are many doctors like that. Many doctors. If the doctor is having a pharmacy, okay, there is something called MRP, okay, and you sell it at MRP,
Yeah.
but you get it at a lower rate. So how can you call it as a commission? Pharmacy is a business there,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That's not commission. You can't label it as commission. I don't understand how. So that's not fair. That's not fair. There are few black sheep in everything, in police, among politicians, among doctors, who may be prescribing things only for the money that the pharma industry is giving them. But that doesn't mean all doctors do that. That's not fair. That's not fair. But unfortunately, we are at the receiving end in this matter. Even coming to pharma, they only have come up with good antibiotics. They only have come up with good medicines. Okay, so let's not call them as pharma mafia or medical mafia. Okay, boss, whoever is unethical there, please don't do it.
Don't label everyone.
Don't label everyone, don't generalize. And even when it comes to house helps, there are so many people you would say all house helps are like this. How can it be, yaar? No. No, most of us fall in the gray zone. Some of us are really, we are too ethical, too idealistic. And some are really horrible people, unethical people. You talk about them, but please don't generalize all of us and put all of us in the same basket, please.
So, ma'am, in your Insta reels, you were talking about paracetamol, these cold cough medication being misused. And you were specifically mentioning about the dosage. Is giving the right dosage to the children also actually that important?
Oh, it's so important. It's so very important. If that's what I tell parents, if you don't give also, it's okay, but don't overdose. Don't overdose because it can result in coma, it can result in, arrhythmias, high blood pressure.
In children?
Yes. In anybody, but children are most vulnerable. It's easy to push them to serious problems and death. Okay, now in India, we have so many paracetamol formulations. 1 ml 100 mg, 1 ml 120 mg, 1 ml 50 mg, 5 ml 500 mg, 5 ml 120 mg. So confusing it is. So there are many instances where like the doctor would have prescribed 5 ml of 5 ml containing 120 or 125 mg, and this parent would give 5 ml of 1 ml 100 mg and multiple times in the day, and they will end up in liver failure. And there were many deaths also. That's why I'm raising a petition, one paracetamol strength, one India, so as to avoid this confusion. Okay, because this is one drug which will be available over the counter.
Correct.
So let there not be any confusion. Okay, that's one thing. Second, cough and cold syrups, the so-called cough and cold syrup, so many combinations, similar names, different strengths, and like crazy things like levosalbutamol and all, which are not needed anymore, which can cause like lot of problems with heart beating fast and blood pressure going up, all these issues, or pushing the child into coma if overdose. All these are available, like drop syrup, and doctor would say syrup, or not even doctor, pharmacist also will decide and give, and they would give drops. Drops are much more concentrated, and you give the same volume, children end up in emergencies. Basically, you need to address the root cause. If there is severe cough due to some allergy, we give an anti-allergen. If it is due to acute exacerbation of asthma, we need to give puffs, or if it's an infant, maybe we nebulize. That nebulization also nowadays it's recommended, it is done in the hospital. So like this, there are certain guidelines. So don't be in a hurry to give cough and cold syrup. If your child is having cold, just let the child go through it. If it is very bad, meet the doctor, let the doctor identify the cause for it and address it accordingly and guide you accordingly. So avoid buying these over-the-counter things. And regulatory authorities also, take for example the Cinerest drops or Maxtra drops. Government has clearly told that below 4 years don't prescribe them. Okay, this combination of chlorpheniramine and phenylephrine. And on these drops, there'll be a disclaimer, do not give below 4 years. Then why are you even giving permission for this? Why are they being available on in the pharmacies? Drops are for infants and toddlers. You're telling don't give below 4 years, but permission you are giving. So this parent is going to go and buy these and give huge doses and land the child in problems. Okay. There are Sedzin drops where 1 ml is 10 mg and the dropper has 0.25, 0.5 and 1 written on it. Okay. And minimum age is 6 months, and 6 months to 2 years, the maximum allowed dose is only 2.5 mg. This is 1 ml, 10 mg. In the mother gives 1 ml 3 times a day, she is giving 30 mg. Okay, and this is available over the counter. So how do you stop it? The only way is make sure things are given only with prescription. And in this case, why to have a dropper till 1 ml? Have only till 0.25 ml. And it should be given only with prescription. But that's not happening in India. So why have so many strengths and, with similar name, and you're selling it over the counter with no prescription? It's crazy. And who is affected the most? The small babies. And nothing goes in records.
Is there any definite formula for this cold and cough medication?
No, it is based on the etiology. What is causing it?
Okay.
Cough is basically, you're trying to expel out the sputum that has built up in your body, right?
Right.
Yeah. What is causing that?
Okay.
What is producing it? Or when your airways narrow, you cough a lot. So according to how much you are actually suffering because of it and what is the cause, based on that we have to address. Otherwise, just wait it out, just apply a little warm cloth on the chest, take the child to the bathroom filled with steam and let the child sit inside there. Do not give direct steam though,
Yes,
please. It can
another
cause
thing.
burns.
Right.
Yeah.
They use the eucalyptus
No,
oil
not
in it and
recommended at all.
directly
It
give
can
for the
cause
children.
seizures also. Eucalyptus, Vicks, all these please avoid, especially in younger children.
Okay. So it is not advisable
Not
to use
recommended.
any of
Not
these.
recommended.
Just regular water steam is enough for children.
That also not directly, only filled in a room and you sit there. That's all. Because we have lot of burns accidents with this steamers and
Right.
steam from the water. Yeah, boiling water.
Ma'am, most of the doctors suggest parents to give the yearly flu shot for the children. But few of our parents, we feel that if I give a flu shot, probably her immunity will not develop as much and she'll start getting more allergies. Like, the people in West have lots of allergies because of the number of shots is what we feel. So do you think this yearly flu shot that are given to children after 5 years, not the younger ones, the little older ones, is it needed or can we go without these flu shots, yearly flu? Because doctors give it as
This
optional.
allergy hypothesis you're talking about is like you're very like too clean, like everything very clean, like germ phobia type, no? Keeping everything too clean. So your body is not getting any germs. So it doesn't know what to do. So it's sitting jobless. So then the allergies start, right? It has to work against something. Okay, that's why like allergies are on the rise because of our excessive cleanliness, nothing to do with vaccines. Second thing, a vaccine is not going to suppress your ability to fight an infection. It is going to create a defensive mechanism in your body already so that by the time the flu virus reaches you, you're already ready with your weapons. Okay, right? But now all said and done, who can get more severe illness with flu? Okay, the infants. The severity will be less in children between 1 and 5 years because their immunity is slightly better than that of an infant. After 5 years, the immunity is really good. So they may be able to fight it out well, and the severity may be less. And the effectiveness is only 60 to 80% of the flu vaccine. So based on this, the parent can take a decision. I won't tell you to take or to not take. I'm not being diplomatic. I'm telling you facts. So your child's immunity after 5th birthday is good enough to fight the flu virus. Okay. And the effectiveness is 60 to 80%. But suppose you have a vulnerable adult at home, somebody with diabetes, he is 60, 70, and your child may bring the flu virus home and cause problems for the adult. So that way also you need to take a decision thinking of that. And this adult, obviously, you need to give the vaccine. So yeah, you take a decision, an informed decision, as I always say.
Yes. I was just reading up the other day. There was a 9-year-old child in Rajasthan who had a cardiac arrest in the school, and the video was clear that people around her were not giving her CPR, telling that CPR is such an important thing. Do you think schools have to come forward and do something about this?
See, basically, cardiac arrest is the end point for any cause of death. Whatever the cause may be, finally, I will die when my heart stops. And I have only 4 minutes. If I don't make my heart beat again in that 4 minutes, the oxygen supply to the brain would have stopped. Then I'll be brain dead even if you revive me. So that's why it's very important that we initiate CPR as soon as possible. CPR means cardiopulmonary resuscitation, both the heart and the lungs. So you press on the center, yeah, to make the heart pump, and also you give breaths. But if you're not comfortable doing it or you're not skilled enough to do it, you can do something called COLS, compression only life saving. So what you do is you only give chest compressions. So at least that all the teachers, all the staff in schools, and even ideally all children from 7th standard onwards, they need to know. If you see in the US or UK, all children from 7th or 6th standard onwards, they are taught these basic life-saving skills. What to do when a person chokes, what to do when a person has a seizure, and they all know CPR. So definitely our children can also learn, and all schools should be able to save a child from any death related to drowning or choking or any cause by giving CPR at the right time or at least calls.
Right. Because I personally know a lot of children who are going to the international schools. And when I ask them, they don't know first aid. They don't know how to do CPR, as I told. They don't even know what to do when somebody is having a seizure, because seizure is such a common thing. People don't realize that it's much common than what everybody say. Don't you think it has to be inculcated in the curriculum itself across all the boards in all the schools?
So you're talking about students. Here I'm talking about like teachers and staff and parents. And they only don't know. I mean, like, how can we expect students to know? But I want students to know. If students learn it, across India, every house will have somebody who knows basic life-saving skills. So we have to teach the students, but first teachers, staff and parents should be equipped with this knowledge and skills. And you
Something
said it should be
happens.
in the textbooks.
Yes.
That may be a little dicey, because unless somebody qualified, unless somebody who is experienced in teaching these skills, in imparting this knowledge, does it,
Okay.
they may learn it wrong.
Okay.
So instead of putting it in the textbooks, let it be part of the curriculum. Let it be taught to them. And once they learn, they get the booklets. I think we need to plan it that way. Once you impart the knowledge, once you train them in those skills, then let us give a booklet as a reference, so that they can revise and, do it. Directly putting it, especially these life-saving skills in the textbook, may not be the best idea.
Right. There are lots of people who feel that when children also get seizures and high fever, which is common, we all understand that. Even today, they end up giving keys for the children, which is such a big myth in itself. How do we try and tell the scientific reason why keys that will not do anything to them?
No, keys can do something. I'll come to that.
Okay.
Okay. They may not do any good, but they can harm. See, everything is electrical activity. Our brain, our heart, everything. Okay, so when there is certain disturbance there, okay, then brain gives a wrong signal and you have a seizure. Okay, so you are basically unconscious.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you are unconscious, what can happen? If suppose there is some food in your mouth, what can happen?
You'll choke.
You may
on it.
choke. You're standing. What can happen? If you
Might
fall down,
fall and get injury, head, shoulder.
yeah, you may
anything.
get grievous injuries also. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, you are on the floor, you suddenly have a seizure. What can happen? You can
Hit your
hurt,
head.
right? So what should you be doing now? You give me the answer. Ensure safety.
Ensure safety. Injury should not happen to the person.
Yes, exactly. So you put some cushion, pillow or something, first thing. Okay, second thing, whatever is in the mouth, you remove. But do not blindly poke.
Okay.
And once the seizure passes off, just turn the person to one side after checking whether the person is breathing or not. If the person is not breathing, obviously you have to give CPR. So to the side, like how we sleep to the side, that's called recovery position. Now when it comes to children, generally they don't have this kind of seizure. Most of the time it's just this. They just become stiff or they become very loose. So just whatever is in the mouth you remove. Ensure your child is breathing. Hold them to the side in such a way that head is slightly on the lower side than the legs. Hold them towards you or away, either way, but to the side. What is the funda behind that? Basically, whatever is in the mouth, the saliva or the vomit, all those secretions should fall. They should not go back and choke the baby or the child. That is the whole idea.
Right.
So when you're going to the hospital also, hold your child like this, not like this.
Oh.
Okay, to the side with head slightly lower than the rest of the body. I mean, basically the inclination is like this. This is head and these are the legs.
This is for babies, ma'am.
Babies or children.
Children.
Adults also turn them to the side, call 108.
Oh.
Or if you're going to the hospital also, as much as possible, whatever you can do, try to keep them to the side as much as possible. But after ensuring they are breathing. If they're not breathing, you have to give CPR and do not forget to call 108.
Okay. So
Okay.
108 when we call, will they instruct us what to do or they will just send the ambulance?
They will send the ambulance and you give correct address.
Okay.
That's very important. And you can be in touch with them and you can ask them, what can I do now? So, but I'm not very sure how good they are at that. Maybe after you ask me this question, I should give a, we
Yes.
should.
I think we need to have another helpline for at least the immediate safety.
No, I think we should make a mock call and see.
mock call and see. Yes, definitely.
Yes.
We should be
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, to see really if
Yeah,
it's
whether-
if they're doing it that well or not.
Right.
That's one thing. And you said no, keys won't help and they won't do anything. There was an incident a few years back in Hyderabad. Because of the key, the person lost his eye
Oh,
because he did this.
okay.
So no use may harm. And some people put spoon in the mouth.
Yes.
Yeah, that also no use may harm. If you really want to stop the person from biting on the tongue, usually nothing happens when they bite, first thing. And if you want to really stop it, you are apprehensive about it, roll a towel and put, but don't put a spoon or something. Okay. And that's one more thing. And people splash water sometimes. That can worsen the seizures. And sometimes they hit them and all that. So that should not be done.
So all of this is for children also.
No, for adults or children, just make sure they're safe. They don't injure themselves. Make sure they don't choke. So whatever is in the mouth, please remove and put them in the side lying position.
Right.
That's it. Till they recover.
Ma'am, another thing I wanted to ask, you were talking about rabies shots and especially where to give it, which part of the body for children to give it. Saying that, most of us have dogs at home. Do we have to have a shot even if the pet dog playfully scratches our children or bites them if we see blood? Or is there any specific thing when we have to?
In India, yes, as per the guidelines.
Okay.
If you are living in the US, the guidelines are different. In India, rabies is so common. The guidelines clearly say that even if the pet is vaccinated,
Yes.
you have to go ahead with the vaccination as per the guidelines only. So this situation, this is the first time you're getting a scratch, or the dog, cat, monkey, any mammal basically, including bats. First wash the wound thoroughly for 15 minutes with soap and water. There is something called category 2 and category 3 according to WHO guidelines. But in the West, they don't have this differentiation. So category 2, you give only vaccine. Category 3 means deeper and more serious wounds. You give antibody at the site of bite.
Like in
Yeah, you
around.
infiltrate it in that area, right? Okay. So this is when it happens for the first time. And vaccine has to be either in the shoulder or in the thigh only, not in the buttocks at all. One thing is, when you give in the buttocks, there is a chance of nerve injury. And even if you give it at the right site in the buttocks where there is no nerve, the vaccine will not be absorbed fast because of the presence of lot of fat tissue there. And in rabies, we want the action to be fast because rabies is fatal. You don't have, you can't afford to get rabies.
There's no cure. as
There is no
after
cure.
You get
There is no cure. Okay. So that's why it is supposed to be given in the thigh or shoulder. And if accidentally, if somebody has given it in the buttocks, you have to repeat the vaccine. And suppose like you have taken your 3 doses already and the dog is still alive, happy and healthy by 10th day. You don't have to complete the course, the remaining 2 doses. Okay, so but these 3 doses will be considered as pre-exposure prophylaxis for you. That means like tomorrow if you have a dog bite, within 3 months, you don't have to take any vaccine. But after 3 months, if you have a dog bite or cat bite or a monkey bite, or even for that matter, cattle, you have to take 2 doses on 0 day and 3rd day. But no role for antibody. So only the first time you take the antibody.
Okay. So, what if there's an infant at home or small child at home and the dog is continuously licking? The child might not always wash the hands and then eat. The child might directly eat. So, is that okay? Or is there like a vaccine or like a precautious thing that we can give our children if we have a pet at home?
I've read many articles like where child would eat the food licked by the dog. Do I give vaccine? Guidelines say no. But that's a very confusing thing even for me till date because I don't know if the child has some cut in the mouth or what.
Okay. If the saliva goes through a wound,
Mainly saliva only. It spreads through
saliva of the dog.
Yeah.
Through a wound.
Yes.
Okay.
So it has to enter our blood through the saliva. Then you may ask me when the dog scratches why? Because dogs usually they will lick their legs and also saliva will be there on their feet also, right?
So even if there is no visible wound,
No, if there is no cut, absolutely
Not
there is
needed.
not needed.
okay. Ma'am, now after this 8 long years of battle that you actually won, is there something that you are going to fight again for?
That I already told you, anything close to ORSL, any deceptive label, not only by this company or any company, I will fight tooth and nail. And second thing, I want all schools to be safe for children, especially at least calls and first aid for choking and seizures, at least the teachers, preferably 7th standard onwards, all the students. They should know. This is one more thing. And as I said again, the same cough, cold syrups and antibiotics should stop. Over the counter things should stop. And 1 paracetamol strength, 1 India. These are the things I'm going to work for.
Right. Ma'am, if you are responsible for healthcare advisory in India, what would you first 3 think changes that you would get?
No over the counter, this nonsense, irrational cough, cold syrups, antibiotics, and all this steroid plus antibiotic plus antifungal creams, all this nonsense has to stop. And second thing, safety. The culture of safety should be there across India. Any family should have at least 1 person, and every school, they should be able to give the right first aid at the right time. This is one thing. And definitely, I want to decrease the size of the school bags. The weight of the school bags. The weight of the school bags. So, yeah.
It was amazing having you here, ma'am, today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.